Well, hello. I'm Coach Kev Deneen, and today we're talking to people in the gym, whether you are a personal trainer looking to build your business further, or whether you're a personal trainer looking to expand your business and take it to the next level. Either way, we're talking about the brick and mortar business, that personal trainer, and taking you from zero to hero. Although zero potentially could be a little misleading. Anyways, here we go. So, first of all, a little bit more about myself. Coach Kev Deneen, I owned two gyms before March of 2020 in New York City. And since 2006, I've been in New York City and owned, operated gyms. Now I'm back and forth between here and St. Louis. But at one point previously, both gyms combined to do over seven figures in revenue. So now this new phase for me is kind of going into the transition phase of opening that second gym. So the zero to hero also applies to me. I'm in a place where I don't have a gym, and I'm going from zero presence to hopefully 100 to 125 clients. And yeah, in this concept, I wanted to speak about there's many roads to Rome. And while all of them lead there, I think the main concept that I'd like you to take home is that you can grow your business, whether you're in an existing brick and mortar facility or whether you're looking for your own facility and you're just a dreamer and wanted to execute on a vision that you've had for a long time. Next, the brick and mortar concept. I think a lot of people have brick and mortar as I need to own my own facility. But I think for today, the concept of having a brick and mortar facility doesn't necessarily mean that you own the facility or rent the facility. It just means that you are in an in-person trainer. So again, this is some you could be renting space, you could be on payroll with a gym, with Equinox, with Lifetime, etc. Both have opportunities to grow with that big box gym model. But basically, the second component would be a trainer who is looking to create their own gym. They've been dreaming it. They have this feeling, this overwhelming sensation that they're always banging on the heads of their superiors, probably asking for help or asking for change, and they never get it. And so they're always looking for that new thing, that next space, and just want to execute on their vision. Again, they will have trainers probably on payroll, but this is a very different opportunity than the previous one. So I want to talk a little bit about both because I've been in both positions. So here we go. For instance, the trainer in the gym. I want to go to talk about this person. Now, again, this person's already training. This is not somebody new to training. This is not how to build your business. This is how from zero to nothing. I guess that, again, that title may be a little misleading, but the concept here is simple. We're looking to build your business further, and not from scratch. So again, you're looking to earn more revenue within the same gym that you're at. This is a lot. I know this is a lot for a slide, but quite simply, if you're training an average of 20 hours a week and you're looking to train more, I think the most that a trainer can cap out at is 30 or 35. Again, this is 4 to 5 hours in the morning, 4 to 5 hours in the evening. That's 8 times 5. It's never going to happen. You're going to have people that can't show up. You're going to have this frequency of, client and trainer. You're going to have people that are out. So especially with this new phase that we're in of people coming back to the office, people going back to work, I think what you're going to find is that your numbers are going to hover probably between that 20 and 25. But I think the most I go about this for a reason. But the most you can do is probably 30, maybe 35. A couple ways you can do it. I like the phrase, a closed mouth doesn't get fed. So what you can do is you can ask any one of your current clients, whether they're once or twice a week, ask them if they'd like, hey, I'm around this weekend. Are you? All right, cool. Awesome. Let's get that second or third session in, or fourth. Again, the concept of, getting additional sessions and getting more revenue doesn't necessarily have to come from more people. You can use your existing clientele. The other thing you can do with your existing clientele that I didn't put on here is work on a referral network. And that could be with local physical therapists or massage therapists. And this is a more by less, meaning you can give your client a better referral, refer them to a massage therapist or physical therapist if they need it, or chiropractor, and then in turn ask the chiropractor or massage therapist if they're looking for new clients, and if they're looking for people that they can have an established network with. A lot of the times they want to refer upstream to orthopedics, but also downstream to trainers and coaches. So there's an opportunity there. You can also offer them, only if they work out. Not everybody does, but offer them a local physical therapist. Offer them to work out. Hey, I noticed that you work out, and you guys live close by. Your office is right around the corner. Why don't you stop by and see me over at Equinox 63rd Street? Okay, that's where I started. Just using that as an example. The other thing you can do is you can, if your clients are consistently asking questions. The one that's been coming up recently is rucking. So, for instance, if people are like, "Oh, should I get a weighted vest? What do you think about weighted vests?" Okay, well, answer the question in a social media post. Here's what the rucking is. Here's who should do it, and here's why it's important. Here's ways you can measure it. Here's where to start. Do you have to invest money, etc.? Answer that question because it keeps coming up for our clients. So that's going to be one of our social media posts. But answer that question. If you answer for one person, usually you're going to answer for many. This is a big one. Number 4 is a big, big, big one. You have to increase your prices. Inflation's real. It's usually 3%. So if you're going to go 3% at the minimum, that's going to be every 2 years. And again, that's at the minimum. The messaging is clear. You're going to be saying, in order to keep up with a competitive economy and to be competitive in this fast-paced fitness environment that is New York, LA, Kansas City, Chicago, whatever you want to put, San Diego, however you want to phrase it, you're trying to keep up and you're trying to remain competitive. And that is a message to a client that they are supporting somebody who is competitive. It's also a message to a client that you're savvy enough to know your worth. So I think there are components to this price increase. It's been a topic of late from a lot of business gurus, something that we've done about every 18 months. It's big. So don't be afraid. Increase your prices. Every 2 years is the absolute minimum. You can do it every year. Equinox does it every year. So don't be afraid. The other thing you can do, and this has been very successful for us in phases. So we've done corporate wellness with a couple different companies, including Ralph Lauren, at their home office, sending a coach over there. There's a lot of ways that you can do that, but it starts with asking. So if you're in conversation with your client, and how many employees do you have? Oh, 40. Wow. How many people do you oversee? Well, I have a couple managers. I have 2 managers, and they oversee 10, and then there's a couple subordinates, and then they oversee 5 each. And okay, do you want to have a manager's day out and take your managers out and have them go for a group workout instead of going to a happy hour? Oh yeah, I love that. I'm so tired of taking everybody out for awesome. Now, what a great opportunity for them to bond over something other than a happy hour. Love that concept. So that's for the person. And again, this is the Equinox 63rd Street. This is actually what it used to look like, the Equinox at 63rd Street in Lexington, in New York. So fond memories of my humble beginnings. Now, if you're maxed out as a trainer, there are 2 options as far as I'm concerned. I mean, there's plenty more, but there's 2 more. There's 2 right here that I'd like to talk about. Number 1, you don't have to do anything. You can continue to hustle and to grind it out. I know a coach here who has no intent on opening his own facility, still is networking, still is filling his days. And when it's busy, when people are in town, he is taking full advantage. I've also seen him where he's away for a week, 2 weeks because it's slow. So he takes advantage and is stacking cash when he's here and taking downtime when he's not. It's an ebb and flow of the private personal trainer life. Sometimes semi-private, but mostly private in this instance. So again, you can be maxed out. That's fine. But some of these folks that I've spoken to are also like, I'd like to also increase my passive revenue. Well, you're going to have to spend some time on some things. But one of the things you can do, and you can look at Don Saladino, who's created a $99 a month program. Okay, his superhero training program is $99 a month. Okay, I think he has hundreds of people that pay him for both the programming, meal plans and prep, and then support along that. And I think him and his wife have created a mega I don't want to say millions, but they've created a mega impactful program, and it's monthly workouts and it's challenges and it's thematic and it's brilliant, and it's really brilliant. And I think that's how they were able to build their gym, and I think that's how they were able to create more of an impact in people worldwide. So kudos to them. The other thing you can do is you can have a mentorship program to younger coaches. For a lot of us, we like teaching and learning from the teachings of giants. So the great physical therapists and the great trainers and coaches. But I think a lot of people forget about the people on the come up. So a lot of people are looking for mentors. And if you create a mentorship program, you might only have 3 people in your first, but you create a mentorship program, I think it's going to be something that will be fruitful, not just for you, because you're going to be reinforcing the philosophies and all the things that you believe in, but I think it's going to be reinforcing to the new coaches on the come up. The other thing you can do, this is not my forte, so I'm just speaking from experience, a 6 or 12-month transformation plan. Now, the other thing that can go along with this is there are ways that you can include telehealth. Okay, including telehealth is a unique component, something that we're kind of looking at right now, where you can refer to all of the other things that a client may need to do from a nutritional or hormonal standpoint and get them taken care of. And then all you have to do is program, cardio, strength, get them flexibility, all that. And it's, I don't want to use the word easy, but it is an easier way to, in a simpler way, to look at, hey, I want to take somebody and sell them a 12-month package. Here's how it goes. And in just looking at it as a different package, we do monthly memberships here, but it's a longer commitment. But I think you're going to find that you probably have more success with some of those folks. The other option, let's say you're stacking cash and you're like, this isn't for me forever. This is not sustainable. I'd like to do something different. Here's what you can do. And again, it doesn't have to be a 10,000 square foot training facility. My first one was 1,000 square feet. Not 150 square feet. 150. Can't believe I misspoke. 150. You're going to see a picture in a second. But here's the concept, and this is from Daymond John of Shark Tank. But this is what's called affordable next steps. And sorry that the video is over this, but the first step, my first step was going from training at Equinox to training in 150 square foot space, having the clients, etc. Then going from 150 square feet to 1,600 square feet. Probably could have done that sooner. I was a little bit lax on it, but probably could have done that sooner. And then the third step was from 1,600 square feet to keeping 1,600 and adding the current space, which is 6,000 square feet. And then the next phase right now after the pandemic is eliminating my excuses in my head for why I shouldn't open another one, and saying that I'm worthy as a manager and capable as a leader to have more than one gym. And so that's the affordable next step. And then those spaces there, those gaps were about 2 to 3 years. So wasn't the fastest. I'm definitely not the fastest learner, but I pride myself on always improving. And I think if you're one of those people, this will be for you. Again, one of the things you can do, you can create and document all of your training systems, even if it's on a monthly or yearly basis. A monthly basis. Then it becomes a yearly thing. And now all of a sudden you have all of your programs that you systematically roll out, and you are no longer the linchpin in your organization. In fact, you're out of the way and you're allowing the systems to execute themselves. So if you can multiply yourself by 3 to 5, you'll also grow your revenue by 3 to 5. Again, there's other revenue that you can come into as a result of this new space. You can have small group training options. You can have large group training options, massage or physical therapy. Those are all options that we've entertained at one point or another. Currently, I will tell you we are just small group, one-on-one, and physical therapy. And we have 4 physical therapists that rent space from us, 17 personal trainers, and then we have 3 coaches on staff. So quite an array of options here. Next, and again, here's this 150 square feet. Okay, this is me. You can see the barbell against the wall. This barbell, I could only lift, that's a 7-foot bar, lengthwise in the room. I couldn't lift it. The room was not wide enough to hold the barbell. So again, the concept of starting simple and have an affordable next step. The rent was $1,050 a month. It terrified me. I remember I left for vacation for 4 days, and all I did was read on that vacation because I was so nervous that if I didn't take advantage of this opportunity ahead of me, that I was missing out on this opportunity. And so I honestly felt guilty sitting on that beach that first vacation, but my entrepreneurial journey. And I think as a fitness business owner, we're always going to have that phase of feeling that little guilt, but it's normal. And as long as you start with an affordable next step, I think you're going to have a higher chance of success. Again, my rent, even though it was 150 square feet, was $1,050 per month. But again, the affordable next step. This is in the weeds, but these are questions that I have for you, and I'm going to ask these questions because I think I won't pretend to have all the answers, but these are all options that you're going to look into And I think having these options on the table and reviewing them with somebody who's been there before, I've looked at maybe not hundreds of leases, but dozens of leases, looked at probably, at least 100 spaces, both in St. Louis and in New York. And in fact, what I used to do is I used to take the location, look up every door direct mail, their demographics and the surrounding and the psychographics of the surrounding area. And I was able to create an actual business plan and see if there was enough people, if there was enough residents to support. In every door direct mail, you can see if there's more businesses, especially in New York. There's pockets where there's within about a 10-block radius, you could see if there's more businesses than residential spaces and residents. And if there was, then it's probably not a good idea. And there was times when I was up against the river, and you only have a half circle, so it's not really that good because you're missing out on the rest of the rent from the other people that would normally be in the river, if you get what I'm saying. So yeah, there are a lot of things, but let's go over them. I'm just going to really just fire through these. So first of all, from a space standpoint, a rectangle is always better than a square. It's easier for the gym layout, easier for flow. In a square, people are, it's tough to create some sort of flow in a square. So if you get a rectangle and access to a rectangle, as long as it's a 2-to-1 ratio, man, that is winning. That's number one. Number two, walls are really important. They're really good. Mirrors are fine, but maybe in sequence, if you use mirrors, we have mirrors here. Don't love them on every wall. It becomes like, where do you put this? And if it's up against the wall, then you feel like you're the mirror, then you feel like you're wasting mirrors. So there's also the issue with mirrors is breakage. So remember at one point we lost 3 mirrors on the Upper East Side, and it was just expensive. I think mirrors now are $1,200 for a 4x8. And then again, it has to be a certain type so that people, if they put pressure on it, they're not going to put their hand all the way through the wall. Can the windows open? What about doors? Do you have access? Are there garage doors? How's the flooring? What about noise? Are there noise concerns? If you're having it's almost as if you're having a party for some loud classes. If you're having classes and you're worried about people dropping weights and you have speakers and you have all of this stuff, boy, that just got real complicated real quick. But your spatial requirements may not be just, oh yeah, you're approved for use in this space. It might be a little bit more complicated than that. What about the air, specifically heating, venting, and air conditioning? That's what HVAC refers to. Do you need circulation? Do you need fans? Do you need extra tonnage? We have 3 different air conditioning units here because it's 6,000 square feet. We have multiple rooms. They need different zones. So, and locker rooms, and each of them have their own air conditioning. So that's complicated. That's a very, very expensive startup cost. Not something that most people would put in on their I have an HVAC guy. Nobody has that. So this is a concept that's often overlooked. Audio visual, usually people get this one right. Not complicated, but make sure you just have good surround sound speakers. You don't want to have 2 or 3 like we do here, and then you have to turn it up a lot in order to get the sound to be the same. Sometimes it's an uneven sound, and that's no fun. This is a complicated one and very popular in New York. It's what's called tenant improvement, or TI. It can sometimes also be known as free rent. Some landlords don't want to do any free rent. Some landlords want to give you a tenant improvement. They'll actually literally give you the cash because they want the rent to start. So they'll give you cash to improve your space. Call it in New York, it could be $50,000 rather than if the rent was $10,000, which is probably normal for a 2,000 square foot facility. Instead of that, they're going to give you 5 months of free, 5 months of free rent. So again, they're going to give you $50,000, but your rent starts on day 1, or they're going to give you free rent so that you get 5 months of free rent, which is the equivalent of $50,000. So these are just negotiating tactics that you can use and ask your landlord. Signage and this scrolls down a little bit, but so from a signage standpoint, you have to be careful here because are you going to do sidewalk signs, and are those approved? We had, no joke, we had somebody write us basically a hate letter saying you need to remove the sidewalk sign, even though everybody in this neighborhood has them, like every small business. It is a danger to pedestrians. I will not support this building, and I will report you to the New York State. They literally said this. So we had to take down our sidewalk sign. It is what it is. Another time we left it open and somebody stole it. We think it was the same person. But so signage is really important. So you need to be able to be seen from the street. The other concept, I talked about this before, is the space approved for use? In New York City and LA, Miami too. These are really strict in terms of the rules and regulations. If you're going to have showers, you got to be careful because in New York specifically, there used to be brothels, so there probably still is. So you have to be careful on your permission if you're going to install showers and have your certificate of occupancy, COO. If you're going to have that in the right label, so changing that is also sort of a nightmare, especially coming out of the pandemic. You need an architect. There's a lot of resources that you need to tap into in order to do that. I love our slam wall. We just got a brand new slam wall. It is a game changer. Slam walls are important, but you don't necessarily need them depending on the population that you use. There are other ways to do it. My man, Frank Duffy, he's got a very heavy material that they can just slam against. And it's just hanging, and it just absorbs the shock of the medicine ball. Kind of a unique opportunity, but I imagine it's somewhat similar, but in terms of expense, but just different. Squat racks. Are you going to have squat racks against the wall? Are you going to have squat racks that you can move? Don't forget, you're going to have to drill them down into the ground. Do you have your flooring picked out? Are you going to do black? We decided to go against black. I thought every gym in the world had black as their. It's got to be no. We went against almost a silver with a speck, not white, but it's got almost a granite countertop look. And so far, the reviews have been absolutely fantastic, and it's not that difficult to keep clean. It's not like we have to deep clean it every week, but it is important as you look at your squat racks and your type of equipment and your layout to keep in mind that question goes right with your flooring concept. Continuing on with that, your color scheme. How is your color scheme? What is your logo? We love the royal blue. The phrase at Sherwin-Williams is honorable blue. So honorable blue is one of those like you see at trusted organizations like GE and Chase and Hewlett-Packard and a bunch of others. And it's a trusted color. And if you like red, if you like black, if you like green, whatever you like, but they all signify something to the human brain. And that was just something that we did the research into. So whatever you like, make sure to take advantage of the resources that are available from a color standpoint. Again, I talked about air circulation before, but ceiling fans, you might need not just one overhead, if that's possible, but you can also put them in the Upper East Side. We used to have them in the corners, and those were helpful. And we had two. Again, it was helpful. Back to New York again, and not just New York, but other places. It could be small towns too. If this is a historic building that you're looking at, you might want to shy away because there's going to be a lot more complications with any work that you try to do, anything that you try to install, anything that you try to get delivered. The historic societies are typically difficult to deal with. We were in a historic building. We wanted to have outdoor air conditioning. We wanted to have a wall unit, and it was just in that room. It was just frowned upon. So I think the categorically speaking, a historic building is something that looks probably cool. It's got so much character, but it's something that you'd rather be next to than in. Again, this is really in the weeds, but this is going from the brick and mortar concept and talking just about the concept of the space to now looking at what you're going to need from a financial, organizational, legal perspective. This is all tricky stuff. And I want to say this is tricky because for most of us, this will be your first time doing it. If not, then it's very different. You might want to have somebody hold your hand through this. Literally, this is not something that I would do. But I would just remind you that these are the things that you'd need. So first, these are the things you can't forget. You literally just can't forget. You're going to absolutely have them. Your LLC or your S Corp formation, you're going to need that because then when you're going to open your bank account, they're going to ask for your tax ID number. So you need that. If you're a solo entrepreneur, that might be a little different. You can use your Social Security. But for insurance purposes, this is important too. You're going to have insurance. Make sure you have insurance. Have I said that again? Make sure you are insured. Workers' comp and liability insurance. Very important. For both of those, you'd like to be separate so that you can't necessarily, you're covered from a personal standpoint in your business. If anything happens, if anything should happen, you're covered from a personal standpoint. The operating agreement. This lists out all of these things what happens when. Same with articles of organization. Who does what? Who are the officers, etc. Even if it's your mom. Your capital account. This is important, and I think these are again all things to keep into consideration because a lot of people will say that here's the startup costs, and they'll forget about all of this costs money. So, for instance, LLC, S Corp, and operating agreement, articles of organization, and a capital account, that can be $25K right there. Boom, $25,000. And you're like, what do you get 25? Well, if you are spending money on startup costs to get your gym open, that's fine. But don't forget, on month one, you're not going to be out earning, very rarely, you're not going to be out earning your expenses. So you're going to be losing money, let's say month one. And then month two, you're going to be losing less money, but you're still going to have extra cash. That's what your capital account is for. So funding that appropriately is super important. And if you don't raise enough money, then if you don't have enough cash, what do you do? So these are all the things. And again, you can pause this if you need to and look over all of these things. The capital account is sometimes known as runway within Silicon Valley. But again, you want to have enough so that by the time your expenses and revenue meet, you don't have to go back to the bank or back to your bank account, back to your savings, whatever it may be, or your investors to get more money. That's uncomfortable. So make sure you have enough. Always overestimate that. I'm not sure why these are a little funny here, but these are just questions. And again, I wanted to pose these questions because I think for most people, that they're going to encounter this at some point. And just going into the checklist of things with your people that you're working with. And again, it could be family members, could be other trainers, could be investors. But investors really probably don't want to get bogged down in this, to be honest. And your employees, your new employees, which is part two, but your new employees they're going to look to you for everything. So you better have the answers. And I think a lot of times people can get into this not necessarily knowing and having the answers, but you need to be fluent with the following. So number one, you're going to have to be fluent with QuickBooks and or communicating with your accountant. I would say less credit cards or accounts is better. Your P&L stands for profit and loss, or profit net loss, excuse me. And what you're showing is, are you making money? Are you losing money? And what's the difference between revenue expenses, essentially? But each one of those, there's going to be categories. So there's revenue, and then you're going to show the ways that you earn your money, and then your expenses, show you ways that you spend your money. And that's really important. If you can create and manage that through QuickBooks or with your accountant, accounting fees can be very expensive. We let our books get out of control one time, and I messed up, and it was very expensive. Not $1,000, but like a lot more than that. So accounting fees are, a good accountant is worth their weight in gold. $250 an hour is nothing. So make sure all of these things are accounted for. Balance sheet, that lists your assets and liabilities. Your equipment is an asset. Any debt you have is a liability, etc. Loans, that too. Sales tax. A lot of coaches forget about sales tax. If they're an independent coach and you get caught not paying sales tax, that number can add up. In New York City, it's 4.4%. So in New York City, maybe even New York State, you have to pay a 4.4% on a sales tax, and that goes right to the Cuomo Foundation. I'm just kidding. It doesn't go to the Cuomos, but it goes to New York State, New York City. Federal taxes. I've been here before too, where I messed up and I underpaid, and then you have to, come April, you're like, oh shoot. So make sure when you look at all of these things that you're taking care of the financial side. Now, again, a lot of this is not fun, to be honest. So when you're looking at operations on this side, you might even be like, I want somebody else to do this. Fine. Be prepared if that's the case. All of this organizational stuff is probably to the tune of, at minimum, $250 a month. At the top end, probably $1,000 a month, depending on the size of your organization. All of that, $1,000 a month. So count on that for $12,000 a year, easy. But let's shift over to the operation side, because I think the operations from a management side, I think this is something that people need to bring to the table to start. And I think looking at it from, are you a manager? Have you have management experience? If not, and you're going from you were a trainer, now you're going to have 3 to 5 coaches, that's going to be a steep learning curve. So maybe a management workshop, maybe management books. They're all back here. Maybe some sort of management training or mentor is worth it, because your learning curve, like a client who's just new to working out, it's going to be very steep. It's going to be hard. You can learn quickly, but it's going to be hard. And if it's something you've never done before, then you're going to want to have help. if you have done it before, don't forget about staff meetings. And again, this is management and from the operations side. Uh, this is important. Culture. It is much easier to keep a coach than it is to hire one. I think the hiring process nowadays for me takes about 8 weeks, and it's hourly. Like you're spending hours each week. That's taking you away from other things. So a staff meeting where you're nurturing your clients, your coaches, a staff meeting can be very, very helpful because you tune in to the needs of your staff, and if you take care of your staff, then usually they take care of your clients. Separate concept, but marketing. What type of marketing are you planning? I have a Phasic one coming up where we're doing a pre-sale and charter memberships, but it's also a secret invitation. The next one that we're doing is we have a trial, and then we have gift cards, and then we have newsletters, and we're going to do every door direct mail, and boom, and then what about outreach, right? How are you going to be creating community and or supporting those in your community so that you can show that you're within the community and not just somebody who is there to make a dollar and go home. A lot of people want you to be active in their community. Monthly reports. This is something that I've toggled on, toggled off. I think it's something that needs to come back and be. Monthly is a lot, but quarterly is necessary. I would track your your monthly performance, but also your quarterly performance, and do that so that next year when you look back, you could say, all right, maybe the months were a little funny because January had 5 weekends and 4 weeks, and then February had 20 business days, right? All these things play a role. So you're going to understand your numbers a little bit better if you can look over your monthly reports, but also quarterly. Chamber of Commerce. Again, this is something that I'm not necessarily familiar with, but I'm looking to. This is an important organization to become associated with. The last thing on this that I put on here that I think a lot of people forget about, you can purchase your equipment. You can also lease it, meaning like a car, you turn it in after X amount. I would recommend purchasing it. People will break things. It's not that expensive. You're not outfitting a 10,000 square foot gym. Equipment can be 30 to 40K. And here's the other thing, get an equipment loan. Okay, so the loan is to you to buy the equipment so that you free up cash flow. That's one of the things we didn't do that I probably wish I did at both times, both in the start of the first location and then in the second location. So I talked about my affordable next steps. It doesn't have to be crazy. And I talk about this all the time. This room was 400 square feet. 400 square feet. And if you're like, how many, what? That's a Move Strong rack that doubled as a squat rack. So we could do squats. There's a landmine attachment right in front of you. There's a step up to the side. We technically use what we called the stage. That was an old boiler unit that was in there. But we use that for step ups too. There was also a bench. It was also all sorts of things so people could use it multifaceted amount of ways. There is a bench in the picture here. There's bands attachment to the side. So we would fit 4 people. We would train 4 people at $80 an hour on the Upper East Side, and pretty regularly from Monday through Friday from, I'd say, 6 a.m. to 11, and then in the evenings as well. So, the concept of layout doesn't need to be crazy. And I'd like to emphasize that because a lot of people, you don't get your dream car on your first one. And I think for a lot of people, they can get frustrated with what other people are doing, other gym owners, et cetera, or even other home gyms, and be like, I wish. You start somewhere. Somebody's going to see your vision. And if you have your vision, you start with that vision in pieces. Maybe you get a great barbell. I still have the first barbell that I had before this, the one in that first one. I still have that first barbell. We nicknamed it Excalibur because it seems to be set in stone. It just doesn't die. And then from a philosophical standpoint, if you build something that you know will last, that you're committed to, for the coach who's gotten this far, you're probably already committed. You're in. You're gonna make that next facility, and I hope you do, because I think you're gonna change the lives of not just the people you work with, but the people that the people who are friends with those who you work with, who now you can show them your dreams, your visions, and really be a leader within the health and fitness field. And I think the last thing I'd like to leave you with, I started with this 0 to hero, but is really, again, you're probably a hero in your client's eyes already. You are. And going from zero to hero was more the play on this the book from Peter Thiel called Zero to One. But I think it's a never ending. It's just never ending, and you're always going to be looking for that next thing. If you're one of those people who wants to remain a coach and just create revenue and create more ways to earn revenue. But on the flip side, and there's a lot of brand partnerships you can do. If you have a lot of followers or celebrity clients, you can do that. Ben Bruno's a good example. He's got celebrity clients and followers, a PR person, all these things. You can do these things. And it's just wonderful. I mean, Ben is just crushing it. And these brand partnerships are not something you're going to do on day one. Ben's been at it for 20 years. And then, Don Saladino, brand partnerships, been at it for 20 years. Not going to be in day one. But it's better to say day one versus one day. So I leave you with that. I know that you're the hero in your client's eyes. You're the hero in my eyes if you're ready to take the leap. And I hope I can help at some point. I hope this was helpful. You can always reach out to me with any more questions. Have a great day.